Hi, this is the overview for Chapter 9 and Chapter 10. For this assignment, you're just going to pick one of these. You're not going to do both. So you're going to pick either Chapter 9 or Chapter 10. I'm going to go over both of them in this overview because they're very similar assignments. The reason that I'm letting you choose is they both have the same objective. Basically, you're looking at assessment data. You're making a plan, making methodology for how you would carry out a certain assessment. Since you don't have a live class, this assignment is a little bit different than what you would do during the school year. But I just want you to get in the habit of thinking through the methodology, thinking through what you would do if you did have students in front of you. The big difference between Chapter 9 and Chapter 10 is Chapter 9 is about instructional strategies while Chapter 10 is about behavior. So you can choose either one. You're going to be going through the same process either way, but I wanted to give you a choice so that you could do something based on your own personal interests. My recommendation would be that you would pick the area that you're the weakest in. So if you're very strong with classroom management, I would pick instructional strategies and vice versa, just so you get some extra time and some extra thought behind it. You may also want to pick, if you know for sure your action research project is going to be based on instruction, maybe you want to pick that one just to kind of get a heads up on what you're working on for your action research. So whichever one you want, whatever, you don't have to justify your reason, but just pick whichever one you would like. So for this overview, I'm just going to go over Chapter 9 and Chapter 10 is exactly the same, except you'd be thinking behavior instead of instruction wherever it says instruction. Objective is the same for both. For the assignment overview, Chapter 9 is about instructional strategies, and Marzano gives you a figure 9.3 from Chapter 9 that lists a whole bunch of strategies. If you choose Chapter 9, I'd like you to pick one of those strategies and then narrow it down even further into a specific behavior that goes with that strategy. If you're doing Chapter 10, you're just going to pick one of the behaviors that is listed in Chapter 10. So you're picking one of those things that you would do as a teacher if you wanted to see a change, if you're trying to fix something. Whether you're doing Chapter 9 or 10, I'd like you to choose a behavior that you are not currently doing. So hopefully you find something on that list that's new to you, maybe something you've been curious about and you'd like to try, but pick something that you're not currently doing. And then tell me why you chose that specific behavior. Once you have your choice and you know what you're going to do, I want you to think through your methodology. So I've given you some questions here to go through, and these questions, as you answer them, would set up the methodology so that if you were to actually implement this change, you would be able to go and do an assessment and collect some data from it. So for the first thing, for the instructional side, I want you to consider if you're looking at changing instruction, are you going to use the same topic throughout that change? So for instance, if you are teaching adding fractions with unlike denominators and you give a test with that, you're going to then do your change in instructional strategy. Are you going to give the students that same test in unlike denominators again, the same topic, or are you giving them a test in a different topic? There's pros and cons to doing either one of those, and so there really isn't a right or wrong answer. This depends on what do you think. If you give them the pre and post test and it's on the same exact topic, is the change that you see a result of your instructional strategy, or is it just because they didn't know it before and now they do? If you give two different topics, is it because one topic was easier than another? So there's pitfalls either way. And so I just want you to think through what do you think you would do, and then to tell me why you would make that choice. The second thing you're going to do is choose a measurement tool that would work. So for the instructional strategies, it's most likely going to be an assessment of some sort, but tell me a little bit more about that. Are you going to do a multiple choice test? Are you going to do some quick thumbs up, thumbs down, tell me if you know this? What exactly are you going to do? Is this going to be a formative assessment or a summative assessment? So you decide how exactly you would go about measuring whether or not that instructional strategy worked for you, and then justify your choice. Tell me why you chose that. And then I want you to think about how would you carry out the assessment. So before you do that instructional change, are you going to do a pre-test? Or are you going to give them a summative assessment on one topic and then do your instructional strategy and give them another summative assessment on a different topic? I want you to think about how would you carry that out, and what is your timeline? How long would you do this? Would you do it for a week, 2 weeks, a month? How long would you want to carry this out before you assess to see if it's working? Are you going to collect data throughout? Are you going to do checkpoints throughout? Or are you just going to do a pre and post test? Again, no right or wrong answers, just tell me why. Tell me why you chose all of that. And then what is the threshold for an indication of change? So if the student average on a summative test was 75% for one topic and 80% for another topic, do you consider that an indication of change? Why or why not? Just tell me what you think. Tell me what you would be going for. Would it matter if it's a pre and post test? If they had a 75% on the pre-test and an 80% on the post-test, is that enough for you to say, yes, there is a change there? Why or why not? And then think about student absences. This is something that you definitely have to deal with. So what would you do if the student wasn't there when you gave one of the assessments? Or what would you do if the student was there for the assessment but was absent for 75% of the instruction? Are you going to drop their data? Are you going to try to reteach them? Think about what exactly you would do with that. And just explain what you would do. I'm going to switch over to chapter 10 here. It's almost exactly the same. You're going to look at a specific behavior. I'd like you to think about a particular student in this case. If you're doing the instructional strategies, you're probably looking whole class or small group. With this behavior change, you're going to be thinking probably about one student in particular that you're trying to make some big change with. So think about one student. Same, the rest of it's the same. Choose a measurement tool that would work for that behavior. Think about the timeline. How are you going to carry out the assessment? And then what's the threshold for change? So the behavior is almost exactly the same. And like I said, you're just going to pick whichever instructional behavior you like the best. And I'm going to go over the rubric since the rubric is the same for both of these. You're going to give me, I'm looking that you're giving me a clear statement of the specific behavior that you're going to do, so that either that instructional strategy or that classroom management strategy. So you're going to tell me exactly what it is you're doing and clearly explain your choice. So I'm looking for a paragraph, couple paragraphs telling me why you pick that. You'll see by points, most of the points are in the methodology. That's what I'm really looking for. So all aspects of the methodology are clearly explained. And the aspects of the methodology are just those questions that I went over just now. So that's your methodology. That's what I want to see explained. And that you've justified all of those. So you've told me why would you do it that way. Clearly state your limitations. You're going to have limitations regardless because as we talk about picking different topics, pre and post test, there's always pros and cons. And so your limitations are really just telling me, okay, I know that I can't make this perfect. If I choose A, we're going to have these problems. If I choose B, I'm going to have these problems. So your limitations, you're just telling me what exactly you would have to consider as far as limitations. And then the formatting and grammar is the same on all these rubrics. Minimal spelling and grammar, minimal APA formatting, and your paper's coherent with good flow. So those are the same for both of those. All right, so that's chapter 9 and 10. And again, you're just going to choose one, and whichever one you want is fine. So just pick one and have fun with it.